although when I first read about Google Meet and Calendar, it said that once your meeting was over, it would show up in the calendar. But it seems to be that the meetings are still being recorded, but the link is not showing up in the calendar. I am investigating why that is. But in the meantime, let me show you on Schoology. I'll go back to the main page. On Schoology here, this is what's supposed to be showing your future and past recordings. If you can't find it there, I have a direct link to the folder that I'm making sure that the recordings are there. So if you click on there, that actually takes you to my Google Drive, into which I'm copying all the recorded meetings. And so that's where you should be able to find any past meetings. If they don't show up there, you can send me a reminder and I will make sure to copy it into the special folder. I made a special Google Docs folder to hold my recordings. And if you ever do your own meetings, which you can, if you ever do a meeting and record it, they automatically show up on your Google Drive, in your My Drive, underneath the folder called Meet Recordings. So any meetings you ever have and record, they will automatically show up in there. And if they are part of a calendar, it's supposed to automatically put them in the session listing. But it doesn't seem to be always doing that. We have had some reports of issues with Google Mail being slow. Maybe Google Docs is having an issue. But there in the class, I have both locations for the past recordings. Okay, let's go back to that little project in Excel. One last look at Excel, manipulating data, and then we'll get started with databases. So this cloud spreadsheet data analysis, I've added a little bit to what we did. Now, I've given you a worksheet to start with that I had some data in there. So if you click on that, that will take you to a worksheet, but this is something that we did on Monday. So if you already did this, you don't have to do this again. But if you're seeing this, haven't done this before, this is my copy of this file. For you to modify this, go up to File and do Make a Copy. And you can put it wherever you want in your file folders. And then you can work on this data. I'm going to rename it. I can just type up here in the name, and I'm going to put Manning version 2. And now I'm going to walk through that second part. I'm not going to worry about graphing this data. You can come back and do that. I'm going to do that second part of that homework. Or I'm not calling so much homework as proving that you work through this in class. That's what this is about. I'm doing this in class. If you follow along and do it, you basically have followed the instructions, and we'll get credit for this one. So we're looking for the historical states data. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to graph Iowa and New York and just look at the data coming regarding the total number of cases of the COVID. Now, any kind of data that you can that comes in some kind of tabular format, you can bring into Excel. So let me show you what we're going to do. We're going to go to get that data, and we're going to download the CSV file. We're going to go through an import process. Google Sheets lets you import data into their spreadsheets. So we don't have to download it. And well, we do have to download it. It can't take it just from the website. We have to download it, import it into a sheet, and then we're going to sort the sheet by state, and that will allow us to then find the section of the numbers for every state that's listed there. So, and then we're going to create some graphs. So let's go get the data by going to this link, and we're looking for states historical data. And that's this link right here, states historical data. The CSV file is what we're going to download. Wouldn't it be cool if you could actually have just a link to this and have it automatically updated? Excel does something like that. And I'm saving this to, I'm going to call this daily states. And because it's updated every day, I'm going to put a timestamp up to date, 20/040. What is the date today? 8. And it's saving it in a special format, CSV. Pay attention to where you download your file because you're going to need to browse to there when you upload it to Google Docs. So if you don't get this popping up, that means it's already downloaded to your downloads folder. I have set my browser to ask me where to store files because I don't like to just dump everything in my downloads folder. So I click save, and now I go back to my Google spreadsheet, and I want to import that data. So now looking at that step, that second step, import that file into a new sheet. So going back to my file and do file import. And I import that data I pulled from that other website. And because it's already on my computer, I need to go to the upload section because I need to upload it from my computer. Wouldn't it be nice if I could just say, give me the link to that other website? But no, I have to upload a file. I'm going to select the file and go to my cs101 folder where I downloaded it to, and there's my file. And I'm going to double click. And some wonderful things that Google Spreadsheets does for me, it automatically detects the numbers in there, whether they are the data, whether it's numbers or text, and it gives me the option. Do I want to create a whole new spreadsheet or make a new sheet inside of this one? So I want to make a new sheet inside of this spreadsheet of that data that they're pulling in. But look at all those other options that we could have. I'm going to let it detect the separator. CSV means character separated values. And some different computers may use different characters between the values that will be in columns. So we're going to let Google Sheets detect it automatically. And now I click import data. And it doesn't take long, and it imports the data into a new spreadsheet with the, or not a new spreadsheet, a new sheet with the same name as that file. And now here's where I got stuck last time. I wasn't thinking quick enough of a way to just pull out the Iowa data so I can copy it to another sheet and graph it. So here's how to pull just the data for one particular state out. I have to look at the data a little bit, and I see that for every day here in the left, it has the numbers for that state on that date. So some states started on April 7th. Yeah, it looks like that all. Actually, it's the most current right now. So this is April 7th, and if we look at the very last data here, we see on the 4th is when they started. March 4th is when the numbers were starting to be counted, and we see that there's not an Iowa in the March 4th. They didn't start counting for Iowa until they had their first case. So how do we get just the Iowa numbers? Anyone want to take a guess how I would just get the Iowa numbers all grouped together? Don't worry if you don't know, because it's not so obvious, and it has to do with data sorting. Here's what we're going to do. Watch carefully now. I'm going to click up in the upper left corner, right here in the upper left box, causing everything in that worksheet to be selected. And then I'm going to control click on the black dark gray number 1. So that first row is not being selected. Everything else but the first row is now selected. So that does a select all. Control selects, toggles that row being selected. And the reason I don't want that row selected is because now I'm going to do a data sort range. I'm going to sort this data. So data sort range. And guess what I'm going to sort it by? I'm going to sort it by first, not column A. I'm going to sort it by the state name in column B. And then I'm going to have it sorted by date, column A, as the second level of sorting. So what I'm doing here is I'm sorting the data so all the same state will have its numbers grouped together, and it will be ordered by the date of reporting. And now I click sort, and I have rearranged all my data, and now all the, is that Alaska or Arkansas? That's Arkansas's data is all together. Alabama, or Alaska, Arkansas, all the way up. But all I care about is the Iowa data. So I'm going to scroll down to the Iowa data, and I'll zoom in a little bit here for you. In the Iowa data, it starts here on line 451. The numbers that I care about, oh, what are those number columns? I'm going to click on this row, and I'm going to view freeze that one row. So now when I scroll down, I remember what column means what. So I go to the state of Iowa, IA, and I see that the positive results, that column C, those are the numbers that I want. There's lots of other numbers here that you could graph, but I'm just going to graph these numbers. But I'm not going to put the graph on this page. I want to copy these numbers, put it on a separate page so I can graph them. So I'm going to click there on line 451, column C, and then scroll down to the end of the Iowa numbers and 483, and shift click in column C. And now all those numbers all the way up to row 451 are copied. I'm going to do a Control C copy. And now let's click the plus to add a sheet to put these numbers on that particular sheet. So I'm going to click plus, and I'm going to paste the numbers in column B. Control V, paste. At the very top, I'm going to put Iowa. Let's graph these numbers just to see what the graphs look like for cases in Iowa. Drag through them and insert chart, and it automatically picks a line chart. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here for you. I'm going to choose a line chart, but I'm going to go down to the smooth line chart just to smooth the lines out a little bit. And now I have a chart of the number of cases in Iowa. I can move that around, be towards the top of my worksheet, and I can resize it. Now here's one thing that we can do, and this is something that you'll see when you view reports like this. Somebody shows you this graph, and if you see this graph, you say, hey, this is the number of cases in Iowa. Well, we can see, well, it's going up. What if they just do this to the graph? Here's the number of cases in Iowa. Doesn't that make you a lot more worried about it, how fast the line is going up? That's one way to get your attention. They really want to get your attention. They might show you a graph like this. You don't realize, well, this is over the course of several months. But if someone showed you a graph like this, you may not emotionally think that that's such a big deal. So just how the data is presented, even just how the graph is presented, can make a big deal. Well, let's do one more thing with these Iowa numbers. These are the total cases. But you know what's more important is how many new ones we're getting each day. Let's graph how many new ones we're getting each day. Now, I don't go back to this sheet to see the new ones each day. I can figure that out from the numbers I have right here. I can put a formula here, and I'll call this, the top of this, I'll call this new, or daily new. And the number of daily new is a formula. It's equal to this number here minus yesterday's number. So I put a formula, B3 minus B2 there. And now I fill handle that formula all the way down to the end of my Iowa numbers. And now I have another graph I can make of the daily new cases in Iowa. And since they're selected after I did the copy, let's go ahead and insert a graph of that one. Insert, chart, and let's smooth that. Now again, depending on how I want to panic people, I could make that look really bad or make it look not so bad, but the numbers are exactly the same numbers. But this still is showing us that we are not reducing, we're not over the curve yet. The curve that they're showing you is the number of cases is lessening. Another way to say that is this line here is not increasing, getting steeper. The slope of this line is not increasing. That's what the daily new cases are. So this is, I should call this daily new Iowa. How would I give that a new title? Well, click on the three dots and I can edit the chart, and underneath the customize, I can click chart axes and titles and enter the title to be Iowa Daily New. Iowa Daily New Cases. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, what is the formula that you used? How do you actually get that formula?
Oh, I just typed in the formula. It's B3, in this column, it's B3 minus B2. So it's just the difference between those two. And then I fill handle down to all the rest. So this is always going to be the difference between the day and the day before. A nice way to give you the daily new cases. If you're thinking mathematics, this is actually giving you the slope of the line, the slope of the curve each day. So the daily new cases is the slope of this curve showing you this. Our slope right now is still positive. But the one that's making all the news is New York's numbers. So let's now do the same thing with New York's numbers and see how different they are. They are ahead of us in time. It started spreading there sooner. Let's see what their curves look like. So let's go back now and find New York and copy the New York numbers. So scroll down here. Find NY. There's New York, starting right there. So I click there, scroll down to the end of New York, shift click, Control-C copy, and over in my same sheet here, we'll graph them side by side. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to move my graphs over. And let's paste the New York numbers here right in the next column over. I'm going to do Control-V, paste. I'll zoom in here for you. And this is New York. Since I'm going to want to look at the daily data too, let's put in that formula. That's equal to D3 minus D2. Notice I'm using relative addressing here, just like in Excel. And now I fill handle that formula down to the end of the New York days. Now we see we have two extra days in New York, not because they have 2 days at the end. They actually started 2 days earlier than Iowa in counting their cases. So let's graph the daily new cases of New York. So I click Insert, Chart. After selecting those New York daily numbers, Chart. It automatically picks a line chart. I come over here and change that to a smooth line chart. And this is why we're getting the hope in New York and people are a little happier, a little less panicky. We're seeing the numbers in New York starting to not be as many new ones per day. This is that curve they're talking about. Now, it doesn't mean that there's still a lot of new cases. I mean, that's a lot of new cases still to have. Compared to Iowa's new cases, what are our new cases, we're up to just above 100, where right now they are coming down from being over 10,000 cases a day. But compared to our curve, let's close the chart edit. Well, actually, let's give that chart, let's customize that chart and give it a title, chart and axis titles. Chart title right there. Let's call this New York Daily. New York Daily. The new cases. And then close the chart editor. Let's put that side by side with Iowa and see what New York's curve looks like compared to ours. The same, basically the same time frame, but you see New York is actually headed down in their number of daily cases, although they're still a high number. So side by side, I'm comparing. Am I comparing apples to apples still? Almost. One thing I'm not quite comparing is population, percent of the population. There's a lot more people in New York than Iowa, so we would expect their curve to be a higher number. But how do we get the percent of the population? That might be a good number to have. So I want to graph percent of population instead of just the total number of cases. So I'm going to adjust these graphs, and I'm going to get 2 more columns in to show percent of the population total cases. In order to do that, I need to know the population of each state. So let me put in, we'll call this Iowa and New York. Let's put in the population of, let's see here. I'm going to insert a row above that because I'm going to put the population numbers above the names. I'm going to insert a row above just so I have room. Let's find out the population of Iowa by doing a search of Iowa population. 3.156 million. Okay, let's go back to my chart. 3,156,000. And the population of New York. I think it's 13 million. New York. Oh, 8.623 million. Okay, let's put that in our chart. 8,623,000. Now, instead of graphing the number of cases, let's graph the percent or fraction of population of cases. So let's do that for Iowa first. The formula that goes here is equal to, type the equal sign.
Mr. Manning?
Yep.
You put in New York City population.
Oh, did I do? Let's see. I thought it would be higher. Let's check a look.
Yeah, New York State's 19.
Oh, there you go.
54.
New York. Where did you see the state what was that state population?
19.54.
Okay, that makes more sense. 19.54. Okay, let's put that in there. Correct. 19.54 million. So half of the population is about in New York. 19.540000. Oops. Wrong place. Here. 19.540000. So 19.54 million in New York. Now the formula, the percent or the fraction of cases in Iowa. Again, this would be a formula. It's equal to Well, the cases in Iowa here, that's B3, divided by the population of Iowa, which is here. Uh-oh, as I copy my formula, that number better not move. That one needs to be F4'd or put stickies around it. The F4 key will put stickies around the F1 as I divide my numbers in Iowa by the population of Iowa. Now I hit enter and copy that formula down. Now I have the fraction of population of cases. And now let's look at New York. And let's look at the fraction of population for New York. It's equal to the number of cases in New York divided by the population of New York with the stickies, F4. Then I hit enter. And now I fill handle down. Now what I want to do now is graph these two side by side on the same graph. And watch how easy that is. I am going to select the names and the numbers all the way down to the end of both columns. And let's do again an insert, chart, line chart. That doesn't look right. I think it's trying to actually use one as the X and one as the Y. Something weird's going on there. Maybe I'll chart. I'm just going to chart one, and then I'll add the other one to the chart. That chart isn't coming out right. Let's just graph the one. Then we'll come back and do the other. So let's just do New York. See if it comes out the right. It should have a similar shaped curve. Insert line chart. There we go. That's the curve for New York. Now, to add the numbers for Iowa, well, I see that the data for Iowa is over there in columns F. And let's drag my chart up. Where did my chart go? There's my chart. The numbers for Iowa are in column F. Well, I can click over here and add a series. Right here, I can add a series. And the series is F2 colon F37. And now it'll add a new color to that, and it'll show me that Iowa's percentage of the population is much smaller than the percent population of New York, who has had of total cases. Now this data tells me that more of the total population of New York has gotten it, which may explain why their numbers they're over the curve. Does that mean that it's going to be a long time until Iowa is done? Because it seems to me that the percent of people that have it is going to determine when we're finally all going to be less immune to it, because more people are immune and doesn't spread so easily. But this is a more of a not only keeping track of how many cases total, but in comparison of the two states, this lets you see the difference in New York versus Iowa. Telling us people back in Iowa, perhaps because we're a rural state, it is spreading so much slower than in New York as a percent of the population. It is still going up in New York, but it's not going up as fast. How do I know that? Because the daily new cases in New York is coming down. That's the slope of that curve. So New York is looking like it's over the curve. And we've actually, if we want to estimate, assuming with many, many assumptions here, that if things keep going the way they are, which would require the same social distancing, that maybe the curve would be coming down in about the same number of days, which, how many days was it? 37 days? Perhaps in 37 days, it may be lower. But that's projecting the curve. We don't know if this curve, based on the models, if they're actually perfect models, there may be a vaccine and it may drop much more quickly if we get everyone vaccinated. Or it may take a long time to drop as the percentage of people or the new cases the number of new cases may come down, so the hospitals still can handle it. But it may be a long time before we're saying, hey, everyone, you can come out of your homes now. Here in Iowa, it's not that many new cases, much less serious of the total population of New York, but still it's climbing. And that's what has people in Iowa worried. Now you have the power to do this analysis, getting the data yourself. This is called data mining. So let's see if we've done everything I was kind of messing with, wanting you to at least be familiar with. So we've got the numbers from Iowa and New York. We've graphed them by just selecting the numbers and clicking Insert Graph. And you see how when I adjust these charts, just the look of the charts, just adjusting them can make me panic or make me think, okay, I see it's increasing, or maybe I could try to make it look not so bad and make it look like that. It's not moving very fast at all, even though I'm graphing the same exact numbers. So watch for that when you see graphs in the media, and come and see what they're telling you and think to yourself, how did they generate that? And something I haven't even considered yet is, do I trust these numbers? Let's see, where are they coming from? The COVID tracking project. Well, I assume that I can believe their numbers, but that's another thing. If you have really critical data, not only are you looking at the data in the right way, but are these numbers reliable? Because we're going to make major decisions based on this data. I can convince somebody just by showing them a graph, oh, it's really bad, or oh, it's not so bad. You can relax, even though it's the exact same numbers. All right, that's it for Excel. To share this with me, you can click on Share and go to Advanced and change the sharing to be anyone with the link. The nice thing about this, it doesn't become publicly searchable, but even if someone isn't logged into their Gmail account, they can still view your data. And this isn't secret data at all. If it were your grades and things, we would definitely not be allowed to share it, probably not even internally. But this is just data. Make it easiest for someone to get to. Click the sharing, anyone with the link. And then once you have shared it, this link to share, you can copy and paste that in your submission for this assignment. Copy paste it into the submission. Took longer than I was planning. Look, we're almost out of time. Here's your assignment for next week, for Monday. We're going to be starting right into Access on Monday. What you need to do, if you do not have Office 365 installed as an app, you cannot use the cloud app. Let me go to office.com and show you what I mean. You have to download Office 365 and install it, because Access is not on your PC, or it's not in the cloud. They do not provide Access in the cloud. So what you have to do is sign into your Office account with your Emmaus email. Up in the upper right, you need to download that installer, Office 365 apps. If you have a Mac and you don't have access to a PC, send me an email, because Office 365 for a Mac does not offer access. But I will find a way to give you access to Office or Access on a computer here. It's a secret way to get through. We don't have a lot of computers to do it, but I may have enough for a few of you to be able to get to a PC here. But it will require you have decent internet, because you're connecting over the internet to a PC. So Shane, if you, I know you'd like to call it quits, but if you, and we're not going to do heavy duty access. Enough. Here's the deal. I want you to know about access so you will be on the top of the list. Everyone is expected to know Office when you get hired. They'll say, oh yeah, PC skills. But if you have PC skills and you know access, you will be at the top of the list of who gets hired, because hardly anybody knows about access. And if you'll be one of them that knows something about access, you'll be able to get a job sooner. And a job is going to be tight the next, I'd say the next few years. Some people are comparing this to the Great Depression. Things were really tough. I'm hoping it's not that bad. Hoping and praying it's not that bad. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. I'll hang around for a little bit if you have any other questions. The recording will appear in the calendar. Well, it's supposed to be appearing in the calendar.